Thank you all for being here. I'd like to take a moment to talk about our mother, Evelyn, both to reminisce a bit and also to give everyone here an insight into her life. Evelyn Ann Mahala came into the world on Sunday, July 18, 1926, the child of James, a Russian immigrant laborer and musician, and Stella, a homemaker of Polish descent. Although she spent most of her childhood and teen years living in various locations around the north side of Chicago, Evelyn was born on the south side of the city, on 39th Place in the neighborhood of Brighton Park. Her early life was a hardscrabble existence, as her father deserted the family when she was just 3 years old, leaving her mother alone to take care of her and her two siblings, Alex and Lorraine. This occurred just a few weeks before the stock market crash in 1929. During the Great Depression, Evelyn's mom worked at various jobs to support the family. When her mother remarried, another sister soon arrived, Jeanette, who we all know as Pat. While both parents worked, Dolly, as mom was eventually nicknamed by an uncle, was put to the task of helping care for the rest of the family. With the help of a doctored birth certificate, she went to work at an early age. As World War II was coming to an end at the spring of 1945, Mom's mother, Stella, got together with a family friend who had just been discharged from the Army. And Evelyn went along for one of those outings. The relationship between Mom and Ed blossomed rather rapidly. Within 3 months, they were engaged. Within another 3, they were married at St. Barbara Church in Bridgeport on November 24th. Just before their first wedding anniversary, another Evelyn arrived on the scene as Lynn was born. Soon they moved from their basement flat in Wicker Park to the Bridgeport neighborhood, where in 1952, another Ed Jr., nicknamed Bud, and in 1959, Mark, made their debuts. They shifted houses a bit over the years, from Hillock Avenue to South Peoria Street in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood, from there to Kedvale Avenue in Archon Heights. Through all of these transitions, Mom and Dad worked as a team, a great example of a loving marriage. As an early convert to Catholicism in her single-digit years, and being the spouse of a former potential seminarian, Mom understood the importance of religion in our lives, Mass every Sunday. She made sure we were all educated in Catholic grammar and high schools. Evelyn worked hard to accomplish this, in spite of the too soon loss of her husband Ed in 1967 to heart disease at the age of 52, ending their 21 years of marriage. In the years following Dad's passing, our mother assumed several different employment ventures: beautician work, assembly and manufacturing stints, but her first love was her role as a homemaker. She worked hardest at this craft through all the birthdays, the graduations, the weddings, Mark to Carla and Bud to Margaret, to make sure we became moral, responsible adults. Evelyn's role as a mom was an extended one too. She became a surrogate mother to many of our friends as well, of all races, colors, and creeds. She was always devoting time to listen to them, laugh with them, offer encouragement. She talked to them like she'd known them for years. Some of them call her Mom instead of Evelyn or Dolly. Mom loved music. She was a big fan of the WLS Barn Dance, big bands, and the Grand Ole Opry. Performers like Patsy Montana, the Sons of the Pioneers, Glenn Miller, Marty Robbins, and the Judds were to her liking. She was cool though too. There were plenty of favorable comments made about the Beatles, Elvis Presley, the Everly Brothers, the Hollies, the Byrds, and even Leo Kottke. Evelyn Podrazik would unveil different personas. She was a woman who wore many hats. For example, there was Dolly the dancer. She would attend a wedding reception with Dad, who didn't dance. But once the polka band started their riffs, Dolly's toes in her shoes wasted no time in getting restless, and she'd drag Ed up to the hardwood. Eventually, someone would tap Dad's shoulder to cut in, and he'd have his out to go back to the bar. It'd be a long time before we saw Mom again, as she was hopping and stomping all over the dance floor with somebody or other. Then there was Dolly, the home improvement woman. She and her daughter Lynn should have invested shares at Home Depot or Menards. Mom was always working on something constructive around the house, putting up blinds, varnishing, adhering wall paneling, taking down wall paneling. The two Evelyns on stepladders when Mark and I came home from school were a common sight. Rooms were constantly being painted and repainted, evolving like a chameleon, from pink to aqua to beige to yellow to cream. Mom's home was her pride and joy. She kept it cleaner than most hospitals. She loved the soaps, both daytime and prime time. The Guiding Light, Secret Storm, Dallas, Dynasty, Knots Landing, and her longest tenure of fandom, Days of Our Lives. She loved variety shows and comedy, and will never forget her occasional cackling laugh, the true barometer of a particular Joker routine that was exceptionally funny. Mom wasn't particularly into games, but she wouldn't say no to Yahtzee or 500 rum. Like all of us, Mom wasn't perfect. She was somewhat of a worrywart. Dad would say, "Don't worry about it." And of course, Mom would worry about it. She could be stubborn at times. She could be obsessive. She couldn't just shovel a path when it snowed. Every iota of snowflake had to be removed from every nook and cranny. She was sometimes intimidated, sometimes self-conscious of her limited scholastic education. But she was smart, instinctively smart. She could hold her own in a discussion of politics. She always read the daily newspaper. Evelyn was understanding, a good ear to listen to when you needed to sort out problems. She was encouraging, never questioning our dreams, our ambitions, our career choices. Mom was a passionate person. She loved dogs, and there were plenty. From Penny to Tiny to Princess to another Penny to Heidi to Christy, our house was a revolving kennel. Along with Lynn, she once rescued 3 tiny puppies someone had discarded in a prairie area and made sure they were adopted to homes. Most of all, Mom loved children. Yes, of course, her own, but she also loved other children in the neighborhood. She adored her grandchildren, Erica and David, locking in bragging rights whenever they had accomplished something new. She lived for family holidays and get-togethers, Easter, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. Evelyn's love for children and being a mother was never more evident as when the effects of Alzheimer's disease started taking effect probably about 9 years ago. When it finally became necessary to admit her into a round-the-clock care facility, the staff discovered that Evelyn's tantrums were immediately halted by placing a baby doll in her arms. She wouldn't let it go, even while eating. And that doll was still at her bedside when she died last Friday at the age of 88. God has called Evelyn to heaven now. And I personally believe she is in the midst of a celebration of such magnitude, the likes not seen on this planet. There's a big food spread with plenty of coffee cake. Mom loved coffee cake. She's back with her husband, her mom, her siblings, her in-laws, Wally and Julie, her friends like Camille Freuda, Darlene Custis, Lorraine Lazowskis, and many, many others. A cornucopia of Pedrazics and Mahaliks, Pavelchaks, Kuseks, and Kazmiks. And I'm sure our adopted Jewish aunt, Evelyn Bendix, is trying to goad her into stepping on the dance floor to attempt to do the hora. We wish to thank all of you here, our family and friends, for making this send-off of our mother from the physical world, the eternal kingdom, more bearable, to help us fill that empty hole in our lives with memories of her. She is gone, yet she is always with us. Thank you to Mark's wife, Dr. Carla Pedrazik, and to Dr. Gary McCrae for caring for her these last painful years. We would like to thank in particular those at the Elmhurst Extended Care Center, all of the people who kept her happy through the later stages of her dementia, the social director, Fran Mahino, and so many staff members, Jean, Susan, Carol, Beth, Chris, Melissa, Sarah, Nita, and many others we've forgotten. Finally, we express our thanks to the staff at the Zarzicki Manor Chapels for providing the most pleasant of environments while we celebrate Evelyn's life.